Our bodies were made by God. Our bodies were made by God. In Psalm 139, a psalm of David, David records this truth. He says, speaking to God, "You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." I know that full well. So God teaches us that our bodies are made by him. And David says that we are fearfully made. When God wove us together in our mother's womb, when he formed us, he says that we are fearfully made. Does that mean that when we're born, we're a frightful sight? Well, that might be true for some, but not for most. Most, it's that you are the most lovely baby that has ever been born. What the when David is talking about as a psalmist, when he talks about fearfully made, is a response to circumstances that lend to a strong feeling of surprise, of awe, bordering on fear. So let me go back to the birth room for a second. And as a father of 4, I can remember the days of the birth of each of my children. And as a first-time father, when I'm holding my firstborn son in my hands and looking at him and seeing this body that is warm and alive, there is awe, but there's also a sense of fear. The realization that, what do you do with this little body? How are we going to raise him? How are we going to care for him? Any number of thoughts can come to mind. So there is both awe and fear in our response to a newborn child when we hold it for the first time. We are fearfully made. In the book of Genesis, in chapter 28 at verse 17, Jacob has, as the son of his father Isaac, and a twin to Esau, second born twin, Jacob has just stolen the birthright that was his brother's. He has deceived his father, and he has stolen the birthright, and his mother says, "Run to Uncle Laban's. Go to a faraway country. Go to Uncle Laban's. You'll be safe there." So Jacob has fled home in fear of his life. And that first night, as he is alone in the wilderness, he lays down his head and he has a dream. And in that dream, he sees a ladder from heaven and the angels of God ascending and descending on that ladder. And as he is in the dream, he hears the voice of God promising that he will be with him, that the God of his father Abraham, the God of his father Isaac, will now be with him and fulfill his promises towards him. In the morning when Jacob awakes, the record of Scripture is this, Genesis chapter 28 and verse 17. Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he thought, "Surely the Lord is in this place," and he was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." And so there is this surprise, this awe, bordering on fear that he experiences. And David, when he considers how he has been made, and you and I, when we consider how we have been made, how God has formed us in our mother's womb, and it has given shape to these bodies that we are in, we should look at them in the mirror and say, "I am fearfully made." And then the second aspect of our approach and understanding of our physical bodies made by God is that they are wonderfully made. They are a masterpiece. They're magnificently made. That's the concept of being wonderfully made. And so we are fearfully and wonderfully made.